안에 이유가 뭐냐고!
Hi, hello. Right now it's about 12 o'clock. It's midnight, and I just started reading The Viscount Always Knocks Twice. It's the fourth book in the Heart of Enquiry series. It's the book that I really wanted to read after talking about it to you guys, and I'm really enjoying it so far. There were some parts of the first 100 pages that I was like, okay, when are things going to pick up a bit? I was kind of worried that maybe I wouldn't like the book as much as I thought I would, but I'm really liking the enemies to lovers aspect. I think Grace did a really good job at developing that hatred between the two characters. It wasn't enough for me to be turned off by it, but it was definitely a struggle for these two characters to actually act on their emotions and to actually embrace each other and to even give each other a chance to fall in love with each other. We're also at that part in the book where the mystery actually begins. I was also worried about that too as well, because the other books in the series, the mystery actually begins really earlier on. So we already know what we're walking into. But throughout the first 100 pages of the book, I was actually like, what is the mystery? Did I read the synopsis wrong? Maybe there is no mystery and I've got it mixed up all along. But the mystery just happened and it was tantalizing. It was something that I was like, ooh, that's actually something interesting. I would want to know what actually happened. And so far, it's hot, it's sensual. Nothing really happened yet, but there's always a lot of glances stolen across the table. There's always these moments that they sneak up and hang out with each other, and it's in a very secluded area. What I really liked about the series too as well is that even though there are similarities between our heroes, meaning all the heroes so far in the series are very reluctant at falling in love and for marriage, except for one, which is the third book, which is the book that I just read. Three out of the four heroes I read so far don't want to fall in love and don't want to marry. Or if they want to marry, it's strictly for duty and it's strictly for money, which is our hero right now in this book. And what I also realized is the similarities in the scenes in the books too, as well. So, in a way, you could say that Grace wasn't very creative when it came towards the scenes in the book, but then it's also my catnip for the scenes. For example, our two characters always find themselves in a room together and they can do whatever they want in that room. And somebody rushes in, so they have to hide because they don't want to be caught because it ruins their reputation and it could ruin their futures. So obviously they have to be stuck in a very close quarters situation. In this book, they were pressed up against each other in a small room. In the other books, they were in similar circumstances, like hiding behind curtains and things like that. Other things I also noticed about this book is that Grace does the whole world building thing like Julia Quinn, where all her characters are connected to other characters in different series. So with this book, you can see that a lot of characters from her previous series come into this series as well. So in this series, we can see that one of the characters in Her Husband's Harlot is actually part of this entire series. So he's the older brother of the four sisters, and this is the series about the four sisters falling in love, etc., etc. I actually, I'm butchering this. There's probably a map on her website too as well, but I just wanted to let you guys know that they're all the characters are connected together, even though I'm not doing a good job at it. This is a reading vlog. This isn't a guide to Grace Callaway. Please cut me some slack. Why I wanted to bring this even up in a very confusing manner that's confusing you is because I'm worried that people are gonna ask me can I read these books out of order? Can I read it just standalones? And I would say for the majority of the part, I feel like you could, because the book focuses solely on the couple, but there are a lot of like characters from different books and from the series, and sometimes like a plot event might have happened in the previous book and they mention it in the book that you're currently reading, so you might be a little bit confused. You might feel like you're ruining something for yourself if you decide to go back and read the other books in the series. So, in a way, yes and no. Like, you can read it out of order, but then you're also going to be taking away some of the enjoyment factor out of it too, as well. If I were to be given a choice, I would. It would depend. Usually, when I read historical romances out of order, it's because the books are available through my library out of order, and then I'm just desperate need of reading it. Or if I wanted to read it for a specific trope video and I wanted to read it right away, then I would just read it out of order. I wouldn't even bother with the whole series. But with historical romances, I tend to read from book one all the way to the last book simply because I just like that sense of completion. Like, I just want to feel like my life is in order and I've got a good grasp of it. But anyways, I just wanted to come on here at 12 in the morning to tell you guys that I'm enjoying this book so far. Right now, it's sitting at around a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm waiting for more things to happen to really like make me, excited for a couple. And there are some moments in this book already that makes my chest like ache. And I'm sure you guys feel like this too, because romance readers feel like this, like when the book is like really good and your chest kind of just hurts a bit and you're just feeling that little angsty factor. Like, that's exactly what's happening right now. But I'll update you guys whenever. Okay, so it's been an hour and 30 minutes since I woke up and I managed to finish The Viscount Always Knocks Twice by Grace Callaway. And I must say that I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was like my most anticipated read after I read it to you guys, and it's not because I didn't like the story or the characters or anything like that. It was simply because the writing kind of irked me a bit, and I find that with indie historical romances, it's not going to be picture perfect. It's not going to be your standard traditionally published historical romance where an editor kind of goes through and, tells you like, this is what you should be saying, like maybe you should phrase it this way. And then also like there's certain scenes that I was just plain confused about. Like, I didn't know what they were describing. I didn't know what was happening. And I had to like reread the passages twice. Also, because I'm reading the book physically and not listening through audiobook, I realized that there are a lot of things that could have been edited out or could have been switched up a bit, because I noticed that there were a lot of phrases that were constantly being repeated that kind of really irked me a little bit, because I was just like, okay, like, why do we have to keep saying this saying? So I was gonna make a comment about like how normal people these days or back then they wouldn't use the same catchphrase, but then I realized that I edit my own videos and I know that I keep saying like a lot, so I can't really harp on that too much. But regardless, the characters kept using sayings like gadzooks and jolly, and it was like kind of like every 3 pages kind of thing, and it was like very noticeable. And it's not like one of those words that sound nice. They just sound weird, and that they've used it in the past. But it was just my only little thing that I wanted to point out with like the writing style. I also wanted to point out that I really like our hero. Our hero is just such a sweetheart. Basically, he had a bad past involving females, so he just has very low confidence in himself because he can never understand the female mind, and he never understands if the female actually likes him or not. He courted 2 girls, and the 2 girls ended up breaking his heart and were lying to him or talked bad about him behind his back. So he's not very trusting of female intentions. And our female heroine's really like a guy's like best friend. Like, all her friends are basically males. So he had to deal with the fact that he thought she was a flirt when really that's just her personality. She's more comfortable in front of guys, is what I'm trying to say. So he had to work through that. He had to work through his insecurities. And she was so strong and resilient because she stood with him every step of the way. And once again, if I didn't say it already, I really liked Grace's heroes in this series. I feel like they're just so boyfriend material, like they're so book boyfriend material. So even if I have issues with the plot line, with the writing, I think you guys should still read her books for the heroes. And then this book had more mystery than I thought it would. I explained how I thought that the mystery and intrigue was really interesting. It was a lot better than, like, book number one and also book number two's mystery. But then I also can see how it's not quite there yet with, like, the right amount of perfectness. It's kind of like Three Little Bears. Like, the first bed is way too big, the second bed is like okay, and the third bed is just right. And like the porridges too as well. I was like just thinking about like this freaking story fairy tale because like I forgot the fairy tale. Anyways, so right now we're closer to just right because I feel like this book focused a lot of mystery on the later half of the book, and if you don't care about the mystery, then it's going to be really hard for you to like it either. I was okay with it. Like, I was okay with finding out what actually truly happened, and it wasn't like something like boring. It was like we had to work through the number of suspects, and then meanwhile, our hero and heroine actually worked together on the cases. So in the other books, our hero was always like very reluctant to have her come into the case because he was always nervous that she would be in trouble. But then in this one, they were a true partnership for him, which is like another reason why I like our hero so much because he like highly respected her, thought that she was capable, and was confident in her that she was going to actually add value to the case. So that's why I also really liked it too as well. But anyways, I don't know what to do with this reading vlog. I feel like I have enough content to end the vlog here. And honestly, I'm going to continue reading this series. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it today or like maybe at night. But I also wanted to mention that there was these two characters in this book, and it made me scream because one of the girls, she's very chatty, she's very sociable. The other guy is painted like a villain. Like, he is London's most top, like, he's like the gangster, He's like the guy that everybody owes money to. And he was like the villain in the story for the most part, but we didn't really see him too much because his reputation kind of was really bad. But then this, chatty little girl was defending him in the scene, and I was like, wait a second, is this another couple? And like, this is my catnip. Like, I really like couples where it's like opposites attract, and especially if our hero has such a bad reputation as a villain. So I was like panicking and freaking out. I was like messaging Grace on Instagram. I was like messaging people on Instagram who might have read the series because I really wanted to figure out if they were going to end up together. And they have a book. They have a book. So now I'm super excited. But hopefully you guys are enjoying this ride with me right now as I dive deeper into Grace's works.
그럼 뭐 재밌게 잘 놀다 오세요.
그래?
아 근데 그러면 뭐 그 사람 몇 살인데요?
나보다 한참 오빠지.
늙은 사람이 뭐가 좋다고?
저 싹바가지.
Okay, hi. It is around 10 p.m. right now on Saturday, and I finished painting my nails. I finished catching up on episodes of Our Beloved Summer. Really enjoyed it, cried a lot, although it's not my favorite drama. There are some like emotional bits in that show that I really enjoy, and there's really surprisingly cute, sweet moments too as well that I really like. But I didn't come here to give you guys an update on my drama and my nails. I'm here to give you guys an update on what's happening in this book right now called Never Say Never to an Earl, which is book number 5 in the Heart of Enquiry series. I forgot how many books I read in the series, and when I posted a picture on my Instagram, I said that I read 3 out of 6 books, but I've actually read 4, so I feel like I'm accomplishing something. Anyways, so if I never told you guys about this book already, this book involves our heroine who can sense auras, and then our hero is accused of abuse, and then his reputation's in tatters. This book also reminds me of a Jennifer Ashley novel that my friend Jessica from Peace Love Books have talked about. It's like Ian Mackenzie's novel where he is accused of being crazy and he's sent to an asylum. So our hero has a temperament and he has woken up one day drugged, but like nobody believes that he's drugged. And there's this woman inside the room that was like his hired like prostitute, and she's clearly beaten and she's in distress, and she says that he did this to her. So his father wants to hide the scandal, so he ships him off to this like asylum, but not really. It's just like a place for troubled teenagers and troubled children and also for troubled people. So he's being put there against his will, and he wants to prove his innocence. So he hires her older brother's like detective agency to solve this mystery. And then she, being like a helpful, resourceful person because she can sense who is lying from just looking at them, she wants to get herself involved too as well. And of course, our hero is very protective and doesn't want her to be dealing with the case because he doesn't want her to get harmed since there's many crazy things happening. Anyways, the pacing of this book right now is a little bit weird. I've spoken a little bit briefly about how I wasn't really too sure if I would like the fact that our heroine can see auras, and it really grinded my gears for a bit. It was just getting on my nerves for a bit because our heroine would literally look at someone and then look at the aura and then doesn't know what they actually think, meaning like they look at my face and they might see that I'm angry, and then she would automatically conclude that I'm angry at her, but in reality I could be angry at like 5 other people across the room. So she gets herself into a lot of trouble, and there's a lot of like weird miscommunication because of that like little trait that she has. Meanwhile, our hero is a ladies' man. He loves ladies and he is promiscuous, and he's described to be as a playboy. Now, I don't really like that, or at least I don't like how Grace described him to be, because it just feels icky how he is just, having fun with so many different girls. And I'm just like, ah. So I guess the whole point is that she gets to tame a rake, and that even though he has all these partners, the only person that he wants now is her. And I don't know. Then there's another problem with this book. She has a sister. There's one more girl. And the other girl's story is named Rose. Rose is book number 6. I don't like Rose. What the heck is wrong with Rose? Rose is pissing me off. Rose is such a big B. She is horrible. She treats our main female heroine in this book so poorly. She says all the wrong things. She's selfish. She only cares about her own social status because she's born a bastard. So she wants to marry our hero because our hero is like rich and wealthy and entitled. And then she's like, you stole my man. And then our heroine's like, what? Didn't do anything. Like, I hate her. I don't know how I'm going to stomach reading her book because she's just awful. But you know what? Famous last words. Maybe I'll read the book and I'll fall in love with Rose. But regardless, we're back into this book. I'm around 45% in. I think I could get like a good chunk done because it's only 10. Maybe I can finish it tonight. I don't know. But overall, so far right now, the pacing's a little bit weird because I feel that they haven't known each other for actually that long, and they've since already made out a lot, and they have somewhat compromised each other, or at least like, he compromised her. But like, it's like behind closed doors, like nobody knows that like she's been compromised. And not like she like lost anything. It's just that some very steamy scenes that don't involve anything. I don't know how to say it. So he proposes to her and she's like, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to marry you because we don't know each other that well. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, like, how about I court you? So I guess we're in the stage where they, they're not in love, but they want to see if marriage would work. And then obviously we're going to have more time for them to develop their feelings for each other. But like literally they met a little bit, like they met and then they made out and then made out again and then marriage proposal. So I just feel like, I don't know, it's a little fast, even though I'm already like 250 pages into the 500 page ebook that I'm reading right now on my phone. I'm not really reading the physical because I kind of just want to read on my phone in the dark. But anyways, I'll check back in when I have more thoughts on this book. Iced coffee, and I'm here to wrap up the reading vlog. But basically today I came back from the grocery store. I usually don't go grocery shopping with my mom and my dad, but this weekend my dad was unavailable, so then I went with my sister and my mom, and it's probably the worst decision I've ever made in 2022 already. I just never thought that grocery shopping would be so annoying, but if you come from an Asian household, you'll probably understand that when you go grocery shopping with your mom, you're not just going to grocery shopping to one grocery store. You're going to go to several grocery stores to look for like the best bargain and the best price. So that was a lot for me, but I ended up spending way too much money by just like walking around the aisles and looking at different Asian beauty products, because that's like my, weakness in life. I love looking at Asian beauty products. So I thought that I'll do a quick little haul of the things I did buy this weekend. So this one is a strawberry milk body lotion. I'm always looking for body lotions simply because my body be dry in the Canadian winter. This brand is called Koalanera, and it's a Korean brand. Never tried it before. It was $11, and it broke my heart when I went to a different grocery store and I saw that this was on sale for $7. So I spent more money than I should, and I guess that's the reason why my mom likes to go to different grocery stores, because she can't stand the fact that she gets her price beat. So anyways, this one smells like strawberry milk. The thing about me is that I really romanticize myself a lot. I romanticize myself thinking that if I smell really nice, like maybe I can be that like mysterious girl that walks by and then people be like, who is she? But who am I kidding? Because I'm stuck in a lockdown and nobody's gonna fall in love with me with half my face covered in a mask anyways. The second thing that I bought was this face wash. This one is the baking soda apple face foam by Kina, and this is a Japanese face wash brand. I haven't really dived too deeply into Japanese skincare, mostly because I don't know what's good. I don't really understand Japanese culture. Like, I haven't watched any anime recently. I haven't watched any like Japanese TV shows and things like that. So I don't know what is good. So, but I do know that they have a very impressive skincare routine, just like the Korean culture as well. I've tried this brand before. I really liked it. I thought that my face definitely felt a lot cleaner and it didn't leave my skin feeling squeaky clean, like that really nasty squeaky clean that you would get if you use like a harsh cleanser. And it was also very moisturizing. I felt like it did a really good job at cleaning out my pores. As you can see here, the little girl has dark pores. Never tried the apple one. I tried the orange one. I liked it. This little bottle here is $23. It's obviously because Japanese products are just more expensive, but also because of import fees that make things more expensive. And this also irked me too, because at a different grocery store, this one was $19. So today was just a big L. It was just a loss for me. And then another thing that I did pick up was this thing, which is a Zero Velvet tint that I bought, and it is from the brand Rom ND. It's just a lip gloss. So this is how the color looks like. Honestly, it's a velvet texture, which is pretty nice too. I like velvets and glosses. They're always so pretty. I probably have a color very similar to this already. I am
a huge hoarder of lipsticks and lip glosses. It's insane. I buy like a lipstick or a lip gloss whenever I'm bored. So, and my favorite brands are the Korean brands. But anyways, I came here to wrap up the reading vlog, and I wanted to come here to talk about my thoughts on this book because the last time you saw me was probably 12 a.m. in the morning. This one's called Never Say Never to an Earl, and I finished this one last night right before midnight, so I did pretty well. I finished the book in like 2.5 hours or something like that. This book, I gave it around 3.5 out of 5 stars, but I think I rounded it up to a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I rounded it up because I was feeling kind of bad that I was being very overcritical over certain things in the story and also the historical romance writing itself. And I was thinking to myself, maybe I should mark it on a more lenient rubric than for indie romances than like traditionally published historical romance, because with traditionally published historical romance, you know, it's the thing that I know, that I am comfortable with, I'm familiar with, and it's not fair to judge it based on the same criteria since it's just two different worlds. But hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So I think the main problem that I had with this book was not because of the writing itself, it was mostly because of the characterizations itself, like the characters' actions and how we came to our conclusion and how our conflicts were amended. I just didn't really like how this story kind of progressed too as well. I mentioned that, you know, it feels a little bit quick, it feels a little bit fast in the beginning when they were getting together, but then when they were caught in a compromising position, that was even more of like a very big whiplash situation because it happened way too quickly. Our hero is known to be very temperamental. He's very angry all the time, and he usually lets his anger take over him. And that's just part of his character, and that's like a plot line that's used, is that he is too dangerous for her, but he promises that he'll never harm her. What I was trying to say with this book is that our heroine lies to him the entire time that they're in a relationship, and she never once reveals that she has that secret ability of looking at someone's auras, and then he takes it as an act of betrayal because he feels naked now that she knows every single emotion that kind of goes in his head and in his heart. And then afterwards, there's like a lot of things that do happen that I felt that our hero was being very unfair to our heroine and treated our heroine really poorly. And I wanted him to grovel, and I wanted him to have, you know, this chance to apologize to her because he really did a bad number on her and he wasn't listening to her. And it was just like a very messy situation towards the end of the book. But of course, with Grace's novels that I am finding now is that groveling situations are too short. It's not, you know, something that makes me feel like it's redeemable, and it makes me feel that we're rushing towards a happily ever after. And then another thing that I've mentioned in this reading vlog too as well is that like the mystery elements to it, I feel that, you know, we're still in that weird situation where it's half mystery, half romance, but it's not perfectly in half. This romance featured a lot more romance than mystery. So if you prefer more romance than mystery, then yeah, definitely pick this one up. But it got to the point where I was like, oh, is like the problem solved? Like, are we good now? And then I was like, but we still have like 100 pages left of the book. So I was very confused as to what would actually happen. And I was really worried that like the last 30 pages of the book would be like the grand reveal. And then, you know, like the whole action scene did take place and things like that. And I don't believe in Rose at all. I've mentioned that before that her sister Rose and her had an argument over him because her sister Rose wanted him for herself, and she and her got back together as like best sisters ever. And they apologized together, and I don't believe in Rose at all. I just don't care for Rose. But that is this book. I gave it 3.5 because I still really enjoyed the story. I really like our hero and our hero always getting together. It's my favorite type of trope where our heroine kind of convinces our bad boy hero to be a better person. And then if you're ever curious about the last book in the series, which is unfortunately Rose's story, the one heroine that I don't like at all. I started this book in the grocery store because it was just such a long wait for everything. Like we were waiting for like meats, we were waiting for just like my mom to figure out what she wanted to buy in the grocery store. So I just started it on my phone with the ebook copy that I borrowed from the library. And I typically don't actually read outside of my room. Like I read on the bus and I read on the train and I read, you know, whenever I'm bored, but It's not like something that I'll do in a crazy hectic situation like the grocery store, especially an Asian grocery store where like there's just people right beside you every single day. But because of this reading vlog, I forced myself to read more of this book so that I can sense if I will like this book, and then I can share my thoughts with you guys before I wrap up this vlog. But I'm 30% in. I don't like it. I hate it, actually. Not like I hate it, but it's just like there's like a lot of parts in this book that I don't really jive well with. Like the whole plot line itself is not something that I particularly like. Our hero used to be a prostitute. I'm sure he has a very sad upbringing and a very sad story. I think he was like the son of a prostitute, and then he's been dropped off at the house, and then afterwards once he's grown like a certain age, he became a prostitute at the age of 14, and that's all he's known, and that's all he's taught. Like everybody is telling him that, you know, your whole life will be this and you'll never amount to anything, and he's always standing strong. He's always like, no, I'll choose to have a better life, I'll choose to have a career and things like that. And he ends up growing up to be the owner of a pleasure house where he redefines like what a pleasure house is. He treats his staff better, he pays them well, and he takes care of like really bad situations. So he is overall like a really strong hero, and he comes from kind of like a background that you never really typically see in historical romances, which is interesting. Our heroine herself actually grew up right next to him. Like they were both at that same like pleasure house that he started working in, but she was way too young. So she was never put into that trade yet until like she was saved by her parents, because her parents finally found her. Because her backstory is that as a babe, she was stolen, and then somebody tracked her down and brought her back into society and left him to fend for himself. So they have that really strong connection from their childhood days. But she blocked it all out because of trauma. So she doesn't recognize our hero at all. And he thinks like that's like for the best, because he doesn't want her to remember all those painful memories of her past. Regardless of the fact that she doesn't remember it, the whole society does not like her too much. She's very popular because she's very pretty, but at the same time they're not willing to accept her into the social circle because she is born a bastard. And so she wants to marry someone who has a title, who has the wealth, so that she can be accepted into society, because that's all she cared about. And that's the main reason why she really wanted to marry our hero in the 5th book, which is Polly's husband. But then Rose quickly learns to give up Polly's husband and to go search for someone else. So she has her sights set on this older gentleman, and we all know that you shouldn't do that. Like, it's a big mistake. It's a big no-no. But she is so desperate, even though her parents are like, you don't have to do it. Like, we have so much money. Like, do not do anything that you'll regret. She actually ends up setting herself up with that old, ugly guy. And she makes a mistake, you know? She makes a mistake, and she wakes up and she screams because she realizes that now he's dead beside her, and she is the #1 suspect, and our hero is tasked to clear her name. So there are many problems with this book already that I don't like. I typically don't like storylines like this anyways, where it gets too dramatic, too complicated. I like it when I can handle one really iffy backstory. Like, for example, if he was the prostitute and then she was like a noble lady, and then now she has to accept him for his past and things like that, then yes, I would dig it. But when it's like two storylines that are both equally messy, it gets a little too hard for me to get myself into that story, and that's a personal me thing. The second thing that I don't like is how desperate our heroine is, that she's so clouded in judgment that she makes all these decisions that are just so wrong and so frustrating. Like, why does she have to put herself in harm's way just so that she can have this inkling of hope that she can be a lady in society and accepted in society? I just don't understand it. I know I can't say it because I've never had to put myself in that situation before, but at the same time, I just don't want to read a story about a hero and doing that. Then third of all, I don't like the fact how their relationship started. He was 14 and she was like a little girl. I think she was like probably like 7, 6, or like even younger. And they you know, she can walk and she can talk, but then she suppressed all those memories of it. But he was 14. So in my eyes, he's a teenager, and he took care of her like a little sister. Now, fast forward a decade later, our hero is now attracted to her from the get-go, and it felt like grooming. I don't think it's grooming, but at the same time it just felt weird. Like it just felt a little bit taboo how she and him were young, but there was still that age gap where he was clearly, you know, in control of the situation, where he clearly knew what was happening, and he chose to act on it when he was an adult, which is legal, but then at the same time, it just felt like it was a very taboo, unethical situation when he kissed her. So I don't know if I'm going to continue with this book. Honestly, at this point with this book, 30% in, I've already started skimming it because I just cannot stand our heroine and her stupid choices. So disappointing. I'm going to see if I have to read this book before I read the other books in her other series, because usually all her characters are connected with each other. So hopefully this story dies here and I don't have to read it, but you'll probably see me talk about it either on my Goodreads or in a video that I might post, even if I make a January wrap-up video. But if you haven't followed me on Goodreads yet, or if you hadn't added me as a friend on Goodreads yet, now is the chance to add me on Goodreads so you guys can keep up to date with all the books that I read that I don't talk about on my channel. Okay, so I had to change angles for a bit there because like the sun is coming in a random angle, so you guys can see my my dresser with like a pile of clothes right beside. So somebody also mentioned in reading vlogs that they like to see a conclusion where the person wraps up all the books that they have read in their reading vlogs. Since I have 2 parts in this reading vlog and it's a weekend readathon, let's wrap up the 3 books that I did read, even though I just talked about it. I'm going to talk really quickly about it and my ratings. So the first book that I read was The Lady Who Came in the Cold by Grace Callaway. This is a marriage in trouble historical romance, and I thought that if it was 150 pages more longer, I would enjoy it a lot more. I felt that our hero needed to apologize more and needed to grovel more because he was a big jerk the entire way through in this book, and our heroine deserved to have him listen to her case despite the fact that she was a liar and she lied about her past as a spy. She did have a very dark upbringing, so be warned with sexual assault triggers as well as the couple experiencing a stillborn birth. And I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars, I think. Maybe. We'll double check later. The second book that I read in this reading vlog was this one called The Viscount Always Knocks Twice. This one is a enemies to lovers romance that I was like super excited to read because I love enemies to lovers historical romance. Our hero and heroine get off on the wrong foot because she is best friends with his younger brother, and he thinks that she is in love with the younger brother, but then she's not right for the younger brother, so he puts a stop to it and they bicker back and forth. She ends up humiliating him and they seek revenge on each other all the time. But basically the younger brother gets accused of murder, and now both of them are racing against time to try to solve the case so that the person that they mutually like and love are not going to go to jail for a crime that he didn't commit. So I really like this one too as well. I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, maybe, I forget. Then the last book I read was this one, which is Never Say Never to an Earl. Why do I need to do a conclusion to a reading vlog? I literally just spoke all about these books in this vlog part right here. I'll see you guys again next time.